Forget about the Galaxy Z Fold 7 because the Samsung's trifold phone could arrive in just a few months. There's been a lot of talk about Samsung's trifoldable phone, but the name and release date of the phone are still unknown. But that might have altered now that 2 more leaks have come out. According to a recent leak from Galaxy Club, Samsung has asked for trademark protection for the name Z Trifold. People have been guessing that Samsung might call the phone Galaxy G Fold for a time, but this news suggests that the company might be heading in a different path. The moniker Galaxy Z Trifold is definitely on brand, and it makes it clear that the phone is in the same line as the Z Fold 7. But it's important to remember that firms like Samsung often trademark a lot of names before a phone comes out. So we won't know for sure what the name is until Samsung formally shows off the phone. There is another rumor going around that could help us figure out when the phone will come out. We first heard that Samsung would show out the device at the last Galaxy Unpacked, along with the Z Fold 7 and Galaxy Z Flip 7. But as you may have seen at the event last week, that didn't happen. A fresh leak from Ice Universe might offer the answer as to when we'll actually see this trifolding phone. In a recent post on Weibo, the tipster stated that Samsung will unveil the trifold in October, while also stating that the second version of Huawei's Mate XT, another triple foldable, will arrive in September. There are a number of rumors floating around the Z Trifold or G Fold, including what it could look like. We've heard that the phone will be an inward folding gadget, which allows for a separate cover screen. This would be distinct from the Huawei Mate XT, currently the only commercially available triple foldable. Huawei's gadget concertinas in a Z shape, where the leftmost half of the main display becomes the front of the phone. Speaking of displays, we've heard that the Z Trifold's primary screen will be 10 inches in size, a notable increase in size compared to the Z Fold 7's 8-inch inner display. The cover screen, meanwhile, will reportedly measure around 6.49 inches. Unfortunately, there are signs that, like the Z Fold 7, the trifold won't offer native stylus support, while Samsung is working on a possible option to re-add capability for future Galaxy models. If you were hoping to get Samsung's first try at a triple foldable, that could be unfortunately tough. It seems the phone could only be offered in restricted numbers in South Korea and China. While this could just be a tool for Samsung to assess interest, there are no indications that the phone will be available in additional areas after that just yet. The videos shown were discovered in the One UI 8, which launched with the new Z foldables, but was beta tested on the S25 series first. Previously, Galaxy Z Trifold had been mooted, but Samsung may be reluctant to move away from the popular Z name. The G lined up with display prototypes that Samsung showed off as far back at the Consumer Electronics Show in 2022. Here are the Flex G and Flex S. Notice the differing folding shapes. So far, we only have evidence of the code name and model number for the gadget, Q7M and SMF968, respectively. For reference, the Z Fold 7 is Q7 and SMF966. Anyway, leaked evidence implies that the trifold will be built in very limited numbers and would be sold only in a couple of countries, with the chance that the corporation piques the audience's attention during its forthcoming Galaxy Unpacked presentation by displaying a teaser. However, it was evident from the start that the company would not risk removing the much-needed attention from the Z Fold 7 by announcing something bold and new, which is why a new report states that mass production of the device will start much later in the year, while also mentioning that quantities will be limited, indicating a significantly high price. The latest research also goes into Samsung's pricing strategy. The Galaxy Z Trifold could cost nearly $3,000 when using straight currency conversion. Given that Samsung was previously speculated to limit the Galaxy Z Fold introduction to just 2 markets, China and South China, the trifold flagship would likely fetch a higher price due to the constrained manufacturing quantities. On X, Chukanos Reeve notes details provided by the Bell that the smartphone will launch in the 4th quarter of 2025, with major production starting somewhere in September. The initial amount was not indicated in the story, but an estimated price of 4 million Korean won, which equates to approximately $3,000, has been emphasized, and the sum is certainly not for the faint of heart. Production is expected to commence at Samsung's primary smartphone factory located in Gumi, and the reason for the limited quantity is not just wanting to witness how the two markets respond to a device with this unique form factor, but also the high production cost and complex components arrangement, resulting in less favorable yields. Of course, the production process will undergo some refining to bring those prices down, but an initial strong market reaction is very important for Samsung to advance to the next level. Samsung Display will start the trifold OLED panels production in August, with the company likely sticking with the Snapdragon 8 Elite as the chipset for the Galaxy Z trifold, given that there is no other viable alternative other than MediaTek's Dimensity 9400 Plus, which is considered inferior in some aspects to its competitor. The OLED display size will reportedly expand to 10 inches when entirely unfolded, transforming into a tablet, but despite the greater footprint, Samsung does not plan to employ a bigger battery. Apparently, the capacity will be smaller than the 5600 mAh cell employed in the Huawei Mate X-T, as Samsung has apparently run into space limits and increased thermals, restricting the possibility to add a bigger battery. This will explain why the 3C certification database revealed an insignificant 25-watt power output of the trifold smartphone, and there is no confirmation if the device would enable Qi wireless charging. Hopefully, we will stumble over more beneficial information during the Galaxy Unpacked event, so stay tuned. Next, Samsung's Galaxy Z trifold feels more like a proof of concept than an actual phone. Here's why. One of my favorite lines from any film is, "Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should." While that remark was more about bringing dinosaurs to life, it also wonderfully sums up my current sentiments regarding Samsung's Galaxy Z trifold. The phone, which would be the first trifoldable smartphone coming from the firm, is undoubtedly an interesting idea. However, it has also been stated that Samsung is simply creating a limited number as a kind of trial run. With that in mind, I have to wonder who this phone is actually for, and I have some reservations that it isn't the average client. Honestly, it feels like the phone is more about demonstrating a point than anything else. Now, this may make me sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I have to wonder if all of this is an attempt by Samsung to prove that it can still innovate. The business has attracted some heat in the past for reusing a lot of hardware, instead depending on software enhancements to sell new phones. Releasing a trifoldable phone would prove that Samsung is capable of revolutionary hardware, and the limited numbers would motivate consumers to buy it. There are also certain advantages to having a bigger screen, notably that it allows you to have much more real estate. In the case of the Galaxy Z trifold, it means a reported display of roughly 10 inches. If correct, then that's roughly the same size as the Huawei Mate X-T, which offers a 10.2-inch display. If we compare that to the Z Fold 7, which is reported to have an 8-inch display, then it seems very stunning. The trouble is that, while a bigger screen could be attractive initially, if it's missing in usefulness, then it's a moot point. For instance, we've heard speculations that Samsung won't be including a digitizer on the screen, meaning that the Z trifold wouldn't accept a S Pen. This would be a strange choice, to say the least, given that enormous screen would be a massive help to artists and writers both. Not only that, I have to ask how easy such a device would be to really use in the real world. One of the major difficulties I have with some of the greatest foldable phones is that opening them up may be a bit of a pain, especially out in public. I can only imagine this would be even worse with a triple folding phone. Now, it is plausible that you could half fold the screen for a smaller display, but then it feels like you're not using a third of what you paid for. There's another significant question when it comes to the Galaxy Z trifold. How much will it cost? Let's be fair, Samsung's foldable phones are already some of the most costly that you can currently, with the Galaxy Z Fold 7 costing $2,000 when it was debuted. Not only that, the Huawei Mate base model costs $2,800, and it would only be fair to presume the same will be true of Samsung. We've even seen estimations as high as $3,500. Let's be clear. That is a sum that is much beyond what the typical individual would ever consider spending for a phone. You could quite easily buy one of the greatest phones and the best tablets for that same money. With that in mind, I ask again, who is this really for? However, it isn't to suggest that this will be the only trifold phone we will ever see. It might be the precursor to an altogether new line of phones. Only time will tell. Let me know what you think about the prospective Z trifold. Is the simple act of being able to fold 3 times enough to tempt you, or is it more of an easily forgotten curiosity? So, that's all we know for now. We'll be sure to keep you updated as soon as we have more information. Thanks for watching.